Today I'm going to be talking about 5 of my favourite book to movie adaptations. I'm going to start with probably the most obvious one, and that is the Harry Potter series. I think we all know why this is such a good book to movie adaptation, unless you haven't read the books. Even if you haven't, probably been told by people who have read the books that it's a very good adaptation. Another reason why I love it so much is that the films have left such a legacy. It's one of those film series that's always going to be remembered. And I just think that's important because you might remember it for the films, but it's always come from the books. And new people who find Harry Potter are then going to be led to the books, or vice versa. And it's so magical. It's such a magical story. It's brilliant. The book is brilliant. The films are brilliant. They're just brilliant. The second one I also think is quite an obvious one, and they are The Hunger Games. This series I think has been one of the closest adaptations there's ever been. There's very little I can see that's changed when I watch the films, which I think is brilliant. It's more enjoyable for the reader as well. It's just a bit more satisfying to see what you visualised in your mind come to life on the big screen or small screen, depending if you're watching it on DVD or watching it at the cinema, or if you've got a really big screen in your house. I'm not judging. I love Katniss Everdeen in the books, and Jennifer Lawrence just is the perfect Katniss Everdeen there could ever possibly be. She's just the person I wanted to play her because I couldn't see her as anyone else, to be honest, and I don't think I would ever be able to now. This book to movie adaptation is probably going to be a little bit controversial, as I recently found out that this film was not well received, which shocks me. I thought everyone loved it because I loved it, and that is Alice in Wonderland and Alice in the Looking Glass with Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. I absolutely love this film. I think it's brilliant. It's done so well. I love Tim Burton's style. Everything's just greedy and it's wonderful and bizarre, but so sinister at the same time, and I think it's great. If you don't know, this film was based on Lewis Carroll's poem, The Jabberwocky. So it is based off this book with the characters and some parts of the story, and there are little references throughout the entire film, but it's mainly based on that poem. It's one of my favourite poems. It's absolutely bizarre. Great. It's not that close to either book, but I thought the story was really well done, and the characters in this film that were from this book I think were portrayed really well and interesting to watch on screen. I just love this one so much. Let me know whether you agree about this one, because I'm really interested to know what you think. My fourth favourite book to movie adaptation, I don't have the film with me right now, so I've just got the book, but it is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This book is life-changing. I know that sounds really, really melodramatic, but it is. It really is. And the film executed it so well. I was so worried that it was going to lose something when it was moved onto screen, but it really didn't. It was so well done, in my opinion. It stuck to the story pretty much exactly the same, which I appreciated. It still almost felt like the book is written in the sort of style of letters, which is an interesting way to write the book, as you've never actually got a description of Charlie. I was told by a friend that, which I didn't realise when I read the book, but looking back at it, that should have been obvious. It still felt very real and very personal to Charlie, and as if it was him telling his story, which it is. If you haven't seen it or read it, I highly recommend you do either of those things, because it's so moving and so intriguing, and oh, it's lovely. It's so good. And finally, my last favourite book to movie adaptation, I again don't have the film with me, but it is The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. The film is actually just called Hugo. So this book is written with many, many, many drawings. The filmmakers made use of that by almost replicating those drawings in films, which was brilliant, to open up a bit of the book and then see that actually just come alive. It was amazing. But the story is so sweet again. Because the book has got so many drawings in it and the story is so sweet, the film had to change a little bit so that it still had the kind of more serious drama to it about Hugo and about living in the train station and having quite a hard life. The film kept the book's whimsical aspect. I was so pleased that they did that, because it would have been so easy for them to just make it either all about the comedy, all about drama, or just the mystery, and they didn't. They put it all together and it worked so well on screen. It did, in my opinion anyway. Obviously there are other books and films that I have really enjoyed the adaptations of. I will just mention a couple of others just because I feel like they deserve it. The Muppets Christmas Carol, which is the adaptation of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, Frankenstein, but the Kenneth Branagh adaptation, The Maze Runner, not the Scorch Trials, Pride and Prejudice, both the TV show and the Keira Knightley adaptation, and finally Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones is my life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and have enjoyed my absolute ramblings about all these books and films that I love. Please let me know in the comments what your favourite adaptations are, and I'll see you when I see you.